Today is Tuesday, November 2nd, 2022. The time is 8:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I'll go with this one, which was the recurring theme throughout the entire session. Was this kind of a blast? There was like a burnt impression or a flash image, a big old kaboomski was going on.
I kept seeing light in the sky over and over again, and it was I did a pretty good image of it, like a bright flash that blossoms. It grows and flashes like a fireball. Just
That's beautiful.
And I'll have more on it.
Here's some of my low level data here. Every time I'm looking, basically I'm seeing like a person and water splashing around. Maybe a sense of distress there.
I had this energetics over land with this object above it. I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, you guys got some very interesting data on this. I have to be honest, it wasn't data that I was expecting, but I wrote in the queue of this, I didn't really have any target kind of intent or expectations. I had no idea what the mystery behind this target was. So it was quite interesting to see you all come back with data which corroborates each other in a very strong way. Yeah, so that shot me a lot actually. And I'm interested to see what you guys think of it as well.
Okay. I'm excited for the reveal, Daz. So whenever you're ready, sir, you can walk us through.
Yeah, I'll walk you through. Bear with me a sec. Let's get this up. I'll get my presentation up here. So I'll just walk you through the short presentation on this. It's only going to be about 5 to 10 minutes. Because I have to be honest, we know a lot about this, but we don't know the parts that we were hoping that you guys would get for us. So you can see the screen, okay? Can you get everyone there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the target number there. It's RZ1P31GH, and the background's a bit of a giveaway there actually for this target. And so the target itself was MH370. The missing flight between Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia on 8th of March 2014. And it's the biggest air disaster in the history of aviation.
Wow, I think
So the cue itself was to move back to the time of the flight and disappearance event and to describe the actual event around the flight's disappearance only, disregarding any social stories or any myths of the event, and to only focus on the actual real missing event itself. And here's my tasker here, my intent that I wrote there. And I had no idea or any preconceived ideas at all about what happened. So it's a complete mystery to me. And, I wouldn't have influenced this target in any way with my thoughts or intentions, really. So a bit of background here. The target itself is the biggest mystery in aviation history. Flight MH370 was an international passenger flight operated by Malaysia Airlines that disappeared on 8th of March 2014, was flying from Kuala Lumpur International Airport into Malaysia to its own planned destination, which is the Beijing Capital International Airport. The crew of the Boeing 777 last communicated with air traffic control around 38 minutes after takeoff, when the flight was over the South China Sea. The aircraft was lost from the ATC radar screens minutes later, but was tracked by military radar for another hour, deviating westwards from its planned flight path, crossing the Malay Peninsula and the Andaman Sea. It went down with all 227 passengers and 12 crew, and they're all presumed dead. The disappearance of Flight 370 was one of the deadliest incidents involving a Boeing 777 and the deadliest in Malaysia Airlines history at that time. The search for the missing airplane, which became the most expensive in aviation history, focused initially on the South China Sea and the Andaman Sea before analysis of the aircraft's automated communications with an Inmarsat satellite indicated a possible crash site somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean. This is a graph here. This is actually a plotted graph of a new piece of data that came out literally 2 years ago from ham radio experts, and they kind of determined that by tracking and looking at and analyzing ham radio signals, they could actually see where the plane had actually interrupted in its flight path ham radio signals, and they plotted that every couple of minutes. So this is the new flight path of where it went. The biggest perplexing thing was this part here, which you can't see very well. But essentially, the plane went into a 22-minute holding pattern at that stage. So, it went round in circles for 22 minutes before it then went off on his journey again. So all a bit strange as the mystery. So by October 2017, 20 pieces of debris believed to be from the MH370 have been recovered from beaches in the Western Indian Ocean. 18 of the items were identified as being most likely or almost certain to originate from MH370, whilst the other 2 were assessed as probably from the accident aircraft, but they couldn't fully determine those. And at the moment, the theories on this to date have been based around a possible hijacking, a possible terror attack, the acquisition of the Freescale staff, which is essentially some people on board from a company. There was kind of conspiracy theories that the US people are taking it to Diego Garcia. There's also theories about a crew suicide, a fire. There are theories that it may have been shot down, or maybe a cyber attack. Or one of the other ones is that it could have just dropped into the sea. And of course, we have the final one where they said that, it could be some kind of UFO thing. But there's no evidence for any of these to date. But that's the theories that have been out there in popular culture. And that's pretty much it. I have on this, I have other feedback I can give you in the shape of videos and, news reports and all that kind of stuff. But, this is essentially a plane event that went down, and it still is a mystery to this day.
Wow.
And as I said, I think you guys got some really interesting data. It kind of corroborates each other. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys go for it in full, and after we get this up online and stuff, seeing what the subscriber comments on all this is as well, because they would have seen lots of this on the internet.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Great target.
Yeah.
This seems like one of those ones that could have been like a month-long project or something. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of those
and to
deep
be
ones.
honest, I wanted to give you more time, and there was a bit of confusion over the targeting and when it was meant to be. I would have liked it to have been a big project, maybe on whiteboards, all that kind of stuff. But we have deadlines and all that kind of stuff that we have to adhere to.
Yeah. But we still got, multiple sessions times 4 viewers, which is a ton of good data.
I'm in a privileged position, as you guys are sometimes, because I've seen it all. I've seen all that you've done. So when you guys present your stuff and you start to see the overlaps in a minute, I think you'll be astounded by the overlaps that you all got.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know which order you want to go in. If you want to go in the same order of what happened, with Edward first, or
Edward, he's having internet issues. He just timed out. I guess he'll be back. But if we could just continue that order, Dick, I think you were up next.
Okay. Well, I had I was working this and I was not really on target. And one night I had pain in my foot that was flaring up, and it would hit for a second or two, and then it would stop and I'd go back to sleep. And then it would come back a minute or two later. So I was in and out of sleep. It was so annoying. And I was working this target. So I went RZ1P-31GH. And as I drifted off, I saw the fireball. I said, geez. And I saw that. And then at one point, I'll show you in my session, I used a protocol, the Nemo probe, to move back in time, like before it was a fireball. I have a pretty good session. Here's the highlights. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that's the first thing that gets me onto target is a very bright flash blossoms in the night sky. It grows and flashes. It's a bright fireball. I move off. I see it streaking high in the sky. It's seen by many, like over the ocean, but there's no pictures of it. It's people that don't have cell phones. I initially thought maybe this was back farther in time. I wasn't sure at this point, but people saw it and went, wow, what was that? Some people saw a flash on the horizon, lights in the sky, and it's seen, but they're far away from it. Okay, again, I probed for what made this, and I got, this is man-made. I had originally said it's like a bolide, but probing told me it was man-made, and it blossoms, and it doesn't, okay, this is important. It did not have a concentric shock wave, like boom in all directions. It flared, and then the fire blossomed in, not explosively, but just like fuel would erupt, like a fuel explosion in the sky. The fire boils and roils. Okay, and now I got to figure out what it is. Down here in Nemo, right in the bottom, that's present time, and I go back, and my movement order was move backward prior to ignition. And I saw the jet. I went, my God, there's a jet plummeting. It's going straight down. And it's whistling, it's whining, it's buffeting air pressure. It's a steep dive, and it's shredding. There's an aircraft involved, 2 pilots. I see gauges and pilots, cockpit things. They talk on the radio, heading frequency, navigational stuff, long haul. Alarms are starting to go off. Squeak, chirp. All right. Well, how do I make that not yellow? Okay, come on. It bumps and thuds and cracks. There's shaking sounds. The metal starts shrieking. It pops. It shreds beyond its tolerance. Bits fly off. There's a structural failure caused by forces. There's a load-bearing breakup. It exceeds the tolerance. The spars and the struts give way catastrophically, and the breakup is sudden. The fuel becomes mist, and it's sparked by the breakup. A structural failure caused by puncture or piercing. Okay, here we go. Like a projectile pierced the skin, causing initial damage, loss of integrity, which cascades into a larger structural failure, leading to the fireball. Oh, I said it without knowing, but what caused it? Like, all right, there's a woman in sunglasses with a scarf on her head. She's trying to blend in. She doesn't want to call attention to herself. She is a conspirator. She's trained and selected intel like Mossad. And there's a white middle-aged man. This man has reading glasses on, low on his nose. He looks up right at me, and he's lying. The official story is not true. So, how's that for a remote viewing session? Woo!
Great
That's
data.
incredible.
That's if you ask me, because I saw it so clearly, I was going, I thought it might have been TWA 800.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I had too much conscious mind interference. I thought, I can't go any farther because it was in Malaysia, was in the back of my mind. I didn't AOL that, but I saw the fireball. I saw the plane. I saw the pilots. And I think the pilots were earlier in the session that I just presented was my highlights of all the work I did, a little bit out of order. I saw that early on, and no one said, hey, Dick, follow the pilots in the cockpit. That just went by, and it was, that would have been helpful. I mean, that's kind of leading but that was early on, I think. Anyway, the thing turned into a fireball. Did they find fire on any of the parts that they?
Not, as I said, they've only found 20 parts, and they've been the parts they found have been in the water for 4 or 5 years or more. I don't remember seeing anything about burn damage on any of the parts.
My feeling in the session was the plane started going straight down, and it exceeded the tolerance of how fast it can go, and that started tearing it apart. So pieces are flying off, and then at some point the wings buckled, and that vaporized the fuel, and then it exploded. So things were falling off beforehand due to a too steep of a dive type of thing. So that would be what came to me in the session.
Yeah. But
interesting.
Yeah, great data.
I was not expecting that.
And great sketches as well. I mean, when you initially sent your session through and you had that picture of that fireball in the sky, I was like, whoa, that's a great sketch.
Because I was in and out of sleep, and I saw it, like it replayed. Like, oh, I saw it, and then I saw it again, and it was 4 a.m, and I got up and I sketched it with colored pencils at 4 a.m, just dazed and confused, thinking I'm going to make it negative, so black is white. And I was thinking, like, what colors? I've got it here somewhere. Yeah. I'm thinking how to make it orange, green, so I was drawing green and blue things. And I actually scanned it and went back to sleep and got up like 3 hours later and like, oh man, did I dream that? So interesting target. Yeah.
Great start. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got some good data. Like I said, when I did Komodo, when I do a shitty job, I'll say I sucked, but I was pretty good on this one.
That was a great session, Dick. Really good session.
Yeah.
All
Edward,
right.
you dropped out for a while. Do you want to go through your session next?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, guys. My internet completely, which typically happens with a session like this or a target like this. Okay. Yeah, I think we got a lot of corroborating data. This one started out, and I was seeing this powdery kind of dust or debris coming down. Like the main anchor in the session was that I was seeing like this powdery dust coming down, ash, and it was just slowly kind of coming to the surface. That was my anchoring thing there. So there was this powdery dust coming down, and this was like a surface, and it was this kind of particles and stuff were moving through the surface. They were sparkly, like snowflakes or embers, but it could also be, I was wondering if this was maybe an astrological or astronomical constellation or indicating some kind of year or something like that. There's also an element of powder or residue related to the target, something burnt, I wondered. It's high energy, it's like fire, a flash effect, then settling down. Again, it was just like this explosive thing, and then just watching all the ashes and everything is slowly come to the ground. An accelerant like burning fuel, then the settling ash. But from what though, I wondered? Something explosive like a cannonball? There's a feel of impact, like on a metal surface. Things are coming down or bouncing off or settling. A frequency effect, like a vibration, rumble, or crackle, or a hum. And again, this was, I was drawing this angle that I was perceiving from. So I wonder, is this like a vehicle or a machine or a device or something? There was a speed factor was flying across the sky. There's also a sonar element at or in water, this being one of several aspects. And there was a ship, and they were looking underwater. Did something crash or fallen into the water? I contemplated. It's all very interesting to me. A type of post-explosive aftermath, settling, dust and ash falling to the ground. But what is it, though, I wonder? An ignition of some kind, but what triggers it, though, I wonder? It's like a switch goes off. A ripple effect, a sonic boom. Like if a meteor entered the atmosphere, that kind of sonic boom sounding. Fast and sudden, and with a level of fallout here. But what causes the fallout, though, I wonder? There's dust and soot and ash on the surface of things. They're burned up. Residue left behind from the flash effect. And I AOL there on the Twin Towers, because it was reminding me of that. You know, this kind of explosive thing coming down. Sparkling bright and hot and moving, burning into something. But what was it, though? Like a burnt impression or a flash image? This blast thing here, and then debris falls to the surface, after effect on a surface, like an image representation, a kind of dynamite, a big kaboom goes off, leaving imprints and aftermath. But of what, though, man? Is it surface and ground effect, charring marks and blast imprints and burn markings? But what is this explosive thing, I wonder? What's happening here? How does it happen to be this way? What's going on? This big giant flash. And this looks like an incoming missile strike to me. Is someone bombing someone? Is somebody bombing someone or something? The notion here is a type of missile or projectile coming in and exploding. Then sonic boom, rattling, shaking of things falling down and vibrating. A weapons lock, locking onto something, like this was the lock here, it's locked on, and then they fire. Is this shooting down something like a plane, I wonder? Surface to air or air to ground? Everything ends up on the ground, ash and dust, and there's some kind of a leak, but a leak of what, I wonder? And I also got this extra effect here, a malfunction. Something being taken out. The explosive event also involves a type of malfunction. Something is not running correctly. Is this by accident, I wonder? Or a perfect chain of events? But why? Boom and then falls. Test or testing ground was an idea. Rubble and rocks. This reminded me of a statue falling. That was kind of the image in my mind. This is like something hitting the ground and exploding. Reminds me of a war scene. But what explodes, though, something, I wonder? Something constructed, something invented. Well, what does that mean? An invention blows up? Like a time bomb? Or a timed explosive? But who set it and why, I wonder? Like an intentional hit or sabotage. Taking something or someone down. Possible double strike here. A shooting element as well as a timed explosive. Both seem to be at play. A takedown, one way or another. A military action, though, I wonder? Calculated and timed? Reminds me of taking down an airplane. Covertly, secretly. Takedown now. These guys look military. This guy with the helmet on. Looks military, explosives team, combat ready. Playing out roles like a false flag event or a staged event, diversion. Keep people's attention looking at the other thing. As opposed to what, though? I wonder. A separate event, a story to tell, intimidation, or a plan to intimidate. Boy, that would lead on to the, to the next thing. What the fuck does that mean? That was pretty intense, man. Pretty friggin' intense.
Again, great data. And really corroborative as well. You know, you mentioned fuel, you know, you got plane in there quite a lot. And like Dick stuff, you kind of detail something, maybe a projectile or a bomb, but you kind of detail two separate things at the same time. So
There was, yeah, the notion of the plane getting shot down was strong, came up a couple times in there. It felt, well, in the session, was that it felt like two different things happened. One, an explosive on the plane, and two, it possibly being shot down. And the lock on, like a military hit of some kind, where it was locked on. So maybe they had a bomb on there, and one way, the notion at the end was one way or another, the plane's going down. Either by a bomb on the plane, or they're going to shoot it down military style with a locked on projectile missile.
Yeah.
And it was like one way or another, this thing's going down. And then so once that came through, I was like, wow, man, whatever this is, they really want this thing to be blown up. This thing ain't gonna make it. And then it's like, why? Why? What's so important about this thing? And so that question, when I started to get into that question, it was like, this is like a diversion thing. We're gonna blow this thing up, so you're not looking over here, because you know what I mean. Everyone will be looking over here while they're doing something over here. That's how the session ended.
Yeah.
Which was like, wow, man, that's a whole giant can of worms.
Oh yeah.
Just to go into that one. And but it was like, they're blowing this thing's getting blown out, and there's no won't by hook or by crook, man. They're blowing this plane up. So I mean, I hate to laugh. It's unfortunate. All those people, those poor people, it's a terrible event. I don't want to laugh at it. I'm not laughing at that. But that was intense. That was intense.
Great work, I said. Yeah, well done on that.
Thanks, man.
Okay, what was the order? Who was going next?
I think Naim was up next.
Naim.
Do you want to go next, Naim?
Yeah. Did you say there were no survivors found from this?
No survivors yet. No.
Okay, so maybe my data is will add another
40
dimension.
odd people, I think, all told. Yeah, 227 in the passengers, and then 12 crew as well, I think.
I may have some survivor data too, Naim.
So let me kind of explain how this played out. So my first, my initial data, I see a person, lots of wet textures. I see someone with their hands outstretched yelling, wet cloth. I hear someone yelling for help, wet bubbles. And then I see something splash into the water. And then again, and this time I see someone holding something, kind of like pulling a rope or something like that. Going, Nemo Playfair again, I'm seeing people, life yelling, muffled voices, wet, yelling. Then I see like a boat with a loud horn, boat horn, again, people. And interestingly, I got a texture that reminded me of like a shipwreck, like something under the water, damaged. And then I heard a voice saying like, all aboard, like someone would say on a ship. This was one of my cells here. I was like, this reminds me of an extraction, like someone's in the water and they're being pulled out, like being reeled in on a rope or something. So there's my S3, person in the water, boat, splash, something goes into the water. This was looking at the water gestalt. This was like a weather thing. Like this found like a torrential whirlwind, like a weather related spin cycle. That's what it looked like and felt like to me. But I saw something man-made here that gets sucked around in this. So this was kind of like a moving image that I saw of this. I'm seeing this from so far away, but I saw this tiny little object get pulled into this whirlwind, and it was getting stuck in the spin cycle. Like something goes around, like it's caught in a current. So that might be the plane there. And then I said, I saw something splashing at the water. So here I saw something below the surface, like something's deep in the depths below. Something's hidden down there below the surface. I saw someone was like a ship captain, and I get a sense of something's lost at sea, a search and rescue type event here. Discovery, something's lost. And so this was kind of, a little bit kind of confusing, because I heard a boat, I see someone in the water, I saw something under the water. So I didn't know what was under the water exactly. This was interesting. Someone washed up onto the shore, survived, stranded, lost, like find me. They get beached like a whale. They barely made it. Like a traveler. That was I saw that pretty clearly there. So, there might be some survivors out there somewhere. Maybe not this guy. Maybe didn't make it if he's really by himself. And then I did some edging, and I saw some kind of structure under the water there. And I'm like, I don't know, shipwreck, but structure damaged, broken under the water. And then I saw a very large chain link that you would use to like hoist something out of the water with. And I hear someone say like hidden gem. So like maybe that was someone who's found one of the parts, or someone's out there looking for the parts. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, there was, I'm guessing there were a lot of boats out there searching for this thing, right? So
yeah, as I said in the pre-work, it was the biggest maritime search and rescue operation that's ever been had. I think it cost them something like 20 million.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so I actually said search and rescue. So that's good.
Interesting to see the division of effort there, of like where Naim was sent to what part of it he was. So I'll take the search, the water part.
And we don't know how catastrophic it was. There may have even been some survivors in the water. We just don't. It's a mystery. We just don't know anything on this yet, really.
Yeah.
Great work now.
Wow. Yeah. Really good work.
Yeah. And again, it was showing structures in water, all kinds of calamity, people. So again, it's all showing different pictures of the same story. It's fantastic.
Yeah, they all have. I mean, as Dick was saying, a division of work. Everybody has a different piece. Of this event, which is really cool to see. I'll go through my data real quick.
Excellent.
I did 2 sessions on this one. Let's see here. I had a structure over, and I had land here, and low level data, just something in the air, like a blimp. It was humming. It was large. It was massive. I had an issue. My pages got deleted, but and I saw this, just an aircraft movement. It was rumbling. It was occupied, and then I got a glimpse. I actually saw multiple rows. I only drew a few sketches of it, but it was just people strapped in. I saw like harnesses over just multiple people strapped in rows. Movement, I had travel, and then the word escape. And then moving on, I had this wall of heat, like an inferno, red waves and layers, multiple components to it. Just this person just stepping forward with just flames behind him. There's something near an opening or a doorway. It felt intense as my aesthetic impact. It reminded me, I just had this flash of like a Nicolas Cage movie where he's walking in slow motion, all his fires behind him. It's kind of the visual I had, just a person with flames behind him. Forward movement, life moves almost machine-like, like a military walk, or robotic, calm and confident, stoic and disciplined. But then I had all these people, tiers of life forms, and they were just funneling outwards or outpouring or outcrying. as if it got narrower at a certain point that they had to egress through. Describing what was most important here, wafting smoke. It was tiered and layered. I had obviously this aircraft here in the sky with energetics. I had it labeled as mechanical, and it was spinning and swirling outward. All this, I don't know if it was dust or what. And then it came down, and then outward was the energetics. But there was something about a life. Out walks the life. So maybe there was a survivor here. The fast descent, but then he walks. Is what I was seeing here. Main purpose or function, I don't know how relevant this is, just research, exploratory, but I think I was getting in these walls here, and I'll explain that in a moment here. But I was exploring possible research, but we'll move past that. Again, there's just this structure in the air that was floating, slow moving, it was spinning, it was orbiting, it was rotating. Had something about magnetic repulsion and resistance. The purpose, report, destined forward travel, pick up samples, again, travelers and passengers. Exploring a little bit of research and laboratory here. Might just be noise here. I had rocket, arrival, experience, exposed, and examine. And then what was most interesting, again, the life walking. They were angry, confident, breathing heavy, shoulders rising. And then I had here just looking at the energetics here. The energy came down and then expanded outwards, if there's some kind of an impact here. And then looking at it again, energy is expanding outwards, but there was a pathway through the center. I just thought, holy shit. As if it parts the sky or the Red Sea at an AOL of Moses. And then I think that's all the good data here. Yeah, again, just this airdrop here was my last piece here, and a possible survivor. And then looking at my next session, jumping right into it, radioactive, pressure, soft and expansive. And I just had this, like, looking down, just these waves moving outwards in a circular pattern. They were rolling outwards, trying to look at it from the side. These were energetic waves that were just expanding outwards from a center point. It could be as if an impact comes down and then everything expands and ripples outwards. And then we're looking here, again, a structure, movement, energetics, and a beacon or a transmission or a sound wave. Something was broadcasting, transmitting and receiving. Dad, you were saying something about a broadcast that they were looking at.
Yeah, they tracked its flight path from looking at ham radio broadcasts. But it also had a black box that was transmitting there for, I think, several days before it went offline as well.
All right, I'm wondering if that's what I was seeing here, a messaging, transmission, or a message to be received. It was tingling, it was vibrating, it was signaling. So I think maybe that's what I was picking up on here. Reverberations, an object stuck in the ground, and an AOL of a radio. And then something was raining down, harrowing, escape, transmission. And again, I had this parting. I tried to explore that a little bit more, this corridor, this alleyway. Energetics at this location, the energetics was just moving through in waves. Like as it hit, the shock waves just reverberated like in a parting motion horizontally. There was a bending effect on the structures of surrounding area, cracking sounds, white noise. And then again, looking at this from a different angle here, circular, it was gray, it was designed, it was piloted, it was rotating, spinning, and gyrating, had like these tornado energetics. And again, there's this pathway here underneath. Just this object, it felt stationary, but there was a field rotating over the surface. Was it electromagnetic? It felt warm. Heat was generated, but also a cool component. It was humming and buzzing, crackling. But then it moved silently and impacted the earth. There were more life forms here. I just drew the one, but they were floating up and displaced, created a swirling effect underneath. That's what Naim had sketched there. It was scary and dangerous. I heard screaming sounds. The life was scared. It was toroidal, impactful. It was meaningful, and there was a purpose, as if done with intent, a downward motion. Heat, a blast, and then something about satellite communication and broadcast, movement in circles. A crater remains, a dead zone, no growth, anomalies. and then just more exploring these energetics moving outwards here. The silent death from above. I wrote the word escape. And again, just this life kind of floating up. And then life was focused and worried, floating, burning without heat, like the skin felt burned like radiation, heart pain and pain inside the body. Transmission was signaling downward structure, again, signaling spinning, moving energetics, a movement of energetics and propulsion. That's kind of the direction it was moving. And then escape. And then here, just this downward movement, then clearing a pathway. So this movement came down, and then it almost as if it carved out, whether this was water or land, it just carved out as if the earth was carved with a heat ray or heat lightning. A very odd or strange, weird session for me. So there we have it. I think I was looking at the elements of the crash itself and people in the cabin.
Yeah,
with some noise in there too. But
again, definitely great data. You've got some great words in there and sketches that corroborate. And again, there seems to be a lot more. Throughout all the sessions, there does seem to be this energy impact explosion type event. It didn't seem, it doesn't seem to be like a plane that just like, suicidal kind of crashes into the sea kind of thing. There just seemed to be a big energy event that happened that maybe partly caused the crash, which is very interesting because I haven't seen that discussed anywhere really, other than some of the theories that, and they're not. I don't think they're the theories that are taken more seriously. The ones that say shot down in terrorist attack and stuff. But yeah, great data, guys. And it was, again, as you can see, it was interesting. You all, even though you didn't know what you're doing, you all attacked it from slightly different levels and saw different things, which together makes up a whole complete picture. Yeah,
it's fascinating. Yeah, do you want to run through final thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to know what you guys think about it now that you've all seen each other's data.
A lot of good data. We should probably send all that to Courtney and have her do analysis on it. That would be interesting.
That would be very interesting. Yes.
Yeah. She's open to that. Maybe. Don't tell her what it is. Send her the sessions.
Well, so she does it blind. That would be interesting. Yeah.
Well, analysis is supposed to be done blind. So that would be, don't tell her because she's got a couple weeks.
Yeah, just as long as she doesn't check the website because this is launching on Friday.
Oh,
This is going out. So it might be a short window for her.
Yeah, maybe not.
Here, Courtney, here's 5 sessions. And
there's a lot of, you guys did produce a lot of data there as
done.
well. Yeah, that would be a problem.
There was a lot of good work there.
But what would you, from what you've seen now of each other's work, what would your theory or impression be to what happened at MH370?
Well, off my data, I saw what looked like some kind of whirlwind type situation, something hitting the water. I didn't see a fire, I didn't see anything like an attack, but it looked like I wasn't really at that point in the timeline when I was viewing it. But there things like this, like when there's no survivors and no one can find anything. I've read a lot about how sometimes with these disappearances overseas that involve hurricanes and different things, sometimes people like disappear and go into who knows where, you know what I mean? So it's like hard to say with this one, but I'd put my money to say that the plane is still under the water somewhere. I saw something under the water. So
when I was reading your stuff, because you had a lot of data that was a kind of shipwreck based and it had a lot of detail under the water. When I saw the cyclone type effect, for me, I was thinking, because I know that when objects go underneath the water at high velocity and stuff, they actually create a vortex as they go down, so everything spirals as the object goes. So, but that's just my interpretation of it when I saw that coming in, because yours was quite heavily water based in your RV session.
Yeah. When I looked to see what hit the water, I kind of just saw something already under the water. I didn't really see the moment that it hit the water. Yeah.
The division in labor is amazing, because yours was like pretty much primarily all water based. Dick's was very pretty much up in the sky explosion, up high based. Edwards was talking about, you know, the components about how it could possibly have happened, you know, the effects that brought this to happen. And then Dennis's stuff was very, in my opinion anyway, very focused around the life forms actually inside the target, you know, because he had all the life all strapped into their seats kind of thing and everything. So the division was fantastic, absolutely. But you know, from a project manager position, you guys did an amazing job. I was seeing the data come in, and I was like, "Whoa!" There's explosions, and Dennis got like passengers in their seats strapped in. Because how many times have we done a remote viewing session? And you had like, you know, you've had people strapped into seats as passengers. Naim's had the shipwrecked stuff. We just don't do these kind of targets.
We should take the compilation of all the best data and tell a chronological story with our best data, you know.
Yeah,
that would be an interesting
it'd be interesting.
We have like before, during, and after kind of data. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I tell you, I remember the event of the plane thing. I never really researched into it too much.
Me neither.
But if our stuff is right, if anything in my session is correct, in my mind, that was a takedown, and that for some reason, that plane was going to be taken down one way or another for some strange reason that maybe is for a future.
There were a bunch of software
project.
engineers on board.
Yeah,
there were.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah, there was a whole team of guys that had developed some secret software, and then like because they all died, they lost the patent to it or something.
Really?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's one of the theories. Yeah, the free scale stuff. It's hard to quantify any of the theories. I did lots of research on this, and I can't find any real solid evidence to back any of the theories up.
I'll share something from my first session that you said that there. A programmer, a hacker or something, feels like almost like a student, but he's like an agent, a clandestine agent, long days and nights working on the computer. So yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. You know, I had stuff on, I glazed over it, but on like disciplined and warrior and things. I did a stage 5 on that too. Curious.
It's interesting. Like in my session ends, a story to tell, intimidate, plan to intimidate. Now that you're talking about these programmers, maybe they were like, "This is what we're doing to you guys. You know, you guys keep playing this game, and you'll be the next ones. You'll be in the next plane getting taken care of." Wow, man, that's well, this is a pretty great project, and we got a lot of really good data.
Yeah. Dick, you're muted if you're commenting on this.
Yeah, let me share something really quick. Loss of employees on Malaysia Flight, a blow, U.S. chip maker says. Employees of Freescale Semiconductor who were on a Malaysia Airlines flight, presumed to have crashed, were doing sophisticated work at the U.S. chip maker. Were mostly engineers and experts working to make the company's facilities in China, Kuala Lumpur more efficient. And then there's another post. 20 highly intelligent IT who build and write software to cloak and or avoid radar detection, stealth on board aircraft that went blind and missing. Is this a coincidence? Could these engineers know the backdoor encryption keys to the ASIC chips? So there's some interesting. Yeah, there. I remember hearing that all these software engineers, and they had developed something. I can't remember. It's been so long. Like they had a patent or something, or they were all going to go meet, and then it was like, oh well, they're all dead now. Who gets the patent?
It's kind of strange, isn't it? You know, in the day of, I mean, this was 2014. You know, so we're going back a couple of years. But in this day and age of everyone with mobile phones and GPS chips and everything like that, that you can guarantee 200 of those 300 people have mobile phones on them and laptops and all kinds of God knows what devices. And in today's world, we can't track where an object goes down, and it's lost ever since. It's just doesn't
I had
make sense,
signal
does it?
beacon data. I had a couple pages on that. Something was transmitting.
That's what I remember about this story was everyone was
Mhm.
like, why can't we find this plane?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, great work, guys. Fantastic work. And I'm sure the subscribers
target.
are going to have a lot to say about this one. It's, I think it's going to generate some comments.
Now, was there anything in that these engineers, these programmer guys, had sent anything with them on the plane that may have gotten taken out, or just them?
There are other smaller theories about cargo on the plane and stuff like that as well. But again, it's hard to substantiate anything with this plane crash.
I think the most credible thing I heard was the patent piece. They all died, and the patents then defaulted to, I forget which company. And that seemed to make a decent amount of sense, but I don't remember the specifics of it. That might be a good point of research.
Because I did have in here something invented, an invention blows up. So that makes me wonder if maybe they had something with them, and they were like,
maybe they had a little chip. Maybe it could have been something really small too. Who knows?
Maybe.
Might need a bit more research on that. Yeah.
Pretty well. That's a great target, Daz. Awesome target.
Oh, thanks for working it, guys. It's, as always, it's great data, and it's every one of these we do it is a real privilege to work with you guys.
Yeah, it sure is.
Likewise.
Yeah, that was that one. I knew I was onto something on that one. Like, working the target, I was like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
You're feeling it.
Same here. I needed to figure out what the fuck blew up, man. And there's all this particles are just going.
Yeah, I felt like if we had another week or two to work that could have been incredible. Yeah. It already was incredible, but it could have been.
I think we were about to turn the direction of why. So we got the that, and I think we were pretty good on a how.
Yeah, I would have loved to have worked you guys a bit more on it. Made you do whiteboards and a bit more. But we're working within timelines and the team, and
you can only do so much.
It's such a good example. Like, we all had a realization of the basic idea of the target in one way or another. You know what I mean? Something blew up in the sky, or there's someone survived something and something's under the water. So it's like given a little more. Yeah, that's a good.
You never know.
Good target.
They may restart the investigation, because the radar image I showed you, that's pretty new. That came out from a guy that's a ham radio expert, and he charted that, and he's saying, this is where I know the plane is. And it is being taken semi-seriously now. He started talking about that 2 years ago. So there are these rumors on there in the research that I did that they might reinitiate another search. But they're still talking about 300 square miles of
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Let me show you some work. This remote viewer named David, who was taking CETUS class. This is pretty good. I'll share a little bit of his. He draws the jet engine, draws the turbine. A distant.
Just for the same target, Dick?
Yeah. I gave it to him last week. Said you got to do it before Tuesday. Object in the night sky. Could be a star, a plane, a satellite, a rocket, etc. Probing smells and taste. I literally started coughing and choking, which has never happened in a session. The interior of a structure, something falling through the center. It was collapsing. Multiple layers of the interior were collapsing. And then he has mass death, bodies So I'm overwhelmed by fear, grief, and nausea associated with dead body. So he had some data too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to take all this and just put the highlights onto like, here's the story from 5 remote viewers or 4 remote viewers.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this one up. Daz, great tasking, great target, and incredible work by all the viewers. Edward just popped out for a second. I'm sure he'll be joining us again in a second. But for those of you watching, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What's the competing theories, and how does our data match with the strongest theory out there right now? That feedback would be valuable to all of us. So please let us know your thoughts and keep the discussion going. And on behalf of Daz, Dick, Naim, Edward, and the rest of the crypto viewing team, I'm Dennis Snappy II. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.